Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host, Ali Gauhar. On the first half of the show, we're going to focus on boxing and we'll be talking about the return of King Khan. Amir Khan will be taking on Greco, the Canadian. It's going to be an amazing match. Everybody's talking about it. It's going to happen on Saturday in Liverpool. Phil Greco said that he's extremely confident the other night, and it was yesterday they had a press conference. Phil said he's extremely confident and he has a lot of respect for Amir Khan, but he believes that he's well past his peak and he can get the better of him. Amir Khan, on the other hand, acknowledges the fact that it's been a couple of years since he's competed, but he also said that he's as fit as he's ever been. He's in better shape than he was when he was 25 years old. His management is extremely confident that he can do well on Saturday. And I think he also said that if he loses this game, this might just be the end. But there's no doubt that Amir Khan is extremely confident and he's sure that he can put down Greco. So we're going to talk about that big match first. Then in the second half of the show, we're going to move on to bodybuilding. We're going to focus on bodybuilding in Pakistan, as well as, of course, the technicalities and the nuances of bodybuilding and how more and more people are becoming attracted or are very interested towards bodybuilding. But first, we're going to get to boxing with one guest in the studio. I've been joined by Mr. Ali Mehdi. Ali, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Ali.
Right. This is big. Amir Khan making a comeback. We all know, what Amir Khan represents as a boxer. He came in when he was very young, loaded with talent. He has had his ups and downs in the ring as well. And I think that's what Phil Greco was referring to. He said, look, I was a big fan of yours, but I believe you're well past your prime. A little bit of psychological warfare, but there was some truth to it. But good on Amir Khan for not reacting. He kept his composure. There was a lot of humility there, and he just said, "Look, I'd like to thank Greco and his team for being a lot more respectful this time. And yes, I'm training very hard, and I'm extremely confident. So this should be a fascinating encounter."
A fascinating encounter. It's good to see Amir Khan back in the ring. Good to see him, good to see him back in the boxing ring. Good to see what he does best. He's had his fair share of trouble personally outside the boxing ring and also in the boxing ring when he lost his last match 2 years ago against Saul Canelo Alvarez. Let's not forget, if we go back in history, Amir Khan, when he lost that fight 2 years ago, he actually took a big risk. He actually went to a division higher than welterweight.
Middleweight, yeah?
Yeah, one below middleweight. And then he actually risked his life. When you actually go from one division to your comfortable division, from your comfort zone to another division, you're actually risking quite a lot. So he had a lot of heart. He took a lot of risks. And then he did lose that fight. One thought that he wouldn't ever come back again, never might come back again in the ring. But 2 years on, he's back. He signed a new contract with Eddie Hearn, a huge boxing promoter in the UK. And yes, this is the first of 4 fights, but it's very, very important for him that this is a small stepping stone for him. And Amir Khan needs to win this. He needs to win this well, use his best attributes and make sure that use his best attributes in the form of speed, good knockout punches, good punches, so that he can actually get Greco done and dusted quickly, because he needs to tell the world, show the world that he is still one of the best in the division, and then go on, once he finishes Greco, then move on to bigger fights and make sure that he can challenge for welterweight world fights, for which he was very popular and for which he was actually very. He actually did own 2-3 world heavyweight world belts previously. So it's important that he gets this done and dusted quickly.
This is a guy, and most talented athletes tend to do this. They like taking risks, and he certainly took a big risk by going up a weight class. And he thought he could do well, but unfortunately his risk didn't pay off. I think he got beaten pretty easily. He was doing well, but then it was a question of when I interviewed him a couple of years ago. He mentioned, a little less than 2 years in fact, he said that, look, it's someone with that sort of power, right? I just don't physically have that sort of power. While I have all the speed in the world, maybe if he doesn't reach me, I can get the better of him on points, purely on points. But all it takes is one punch. You know, because you've also got to look at size difference, you know, natural strength as well.
Yes.
So Amir Khan, I think we all know, having watched him box for so many years, and I think he knows this as well, that his core strength, his main strength is his speed, and that's what he's going to rely on Saturday.
He's going to rely on it very heavily. Going back to that fight in his last fight against Canelo Alvarez, I thought he did very well in that fight. He was actually in points, I think, on the judges' scorecard, he was slightly ahead.
He was doing more than holding his own.
And he did it very well to last 7 rounds against, in a division which you're not comfortable with. It speaks volumes for his heart, the fact that his desire for that matter, and I think he did very well. But as they say in boxing, you have to have a strong guard, and you have to make sure that you have your chin protected, because if your opponent gets the better of you and manages to hit that dodgy chin of yours, then you get knocked out, and that's what Amir Khan, that was the undoing of Amir Khan. Amir Khan, going into this fight, he has to make sure that his defense is solid. Yes, he gets done and dusted quickly. He makes sure that he uses his core strength, which you mentioned is speed. The speed which he had in the early 20s when he defeated the likes of Maidana, I think one of the greatest fights he ever had, Maidana, Zeb Judah, Maligiani. He needs to bring that speed back. Make sure that he uses the speed and hits multiple shots onto and gets through Greco's defense. Because if he gets through Greco's defense and shows his patience, then I think this fight should be done and dusted within 3 rounds. And I feel that it could be a knockout very, very quickly.
Well, Greco has one of the best mentors, one of the best coaches with him. He was an absolute legend in the ring, was Fernando. But Amir Khan, at that press conference, when I heard his coach speaking, he said that, you know, the amount of work Amir Khan has put in training is absolutely inspiring, and just watching him go about his business in the camp, he's hungry. He's hungry for success, and he wants this really badly, which I'm sure Greco is well aware of. But I think we all know that a hungry and a determined Amir Khan is a dangerous Amir Khan.
It shows that you could see, right, he's licking his lips right now. He knows that this is everything on the line. He's taken this training camp very, very seriously of his. I mean, he's been off social media, he's been taking care of the nutrition, he's been working very hard on his fitness. And you could see a more cool exterior from Amir Khan. Yes, there was that one incident where he threw water on in the press conference against Greco, but since then he's had a very cool composure. He knows that he shouldn't lose his cool. He needs to keep that fire, that hunger in the fight, in the ring. He needs to unleash that on Greco. You know, stay cool right now, be well prepared, be cool, and once you get into the ring, he has to make sure he unleashes fury upon Greco.
I mean, just talking back to that press conference, Greco did try to provoke him a wee bit by saying, look man, you're well past it, and everybody will see what's going to happen on Saturday. I'm glad Amir Khan didn't fall for the bait. There was a lot of humility there. I mean, he's 31 years old now. He's been through the mill, as you said. He's been through a lot in the ring and, of course, outside the ring. There's a lot of maturity there. That was good to see.
You could see this is a different Amir Khan than previous years. Previous years, Amir Khan, he was just completely, in the press conferences, I thought he would show a lot of, he would be very immature in press conferences. He would say a lot of stuff which he wouldn't need to say, shouldn't have said. And then other than that, you know, his opponents would psychologically have the advantage of him. But this time you could see is that he's letting Greco do all the talking. Yes, Amir Khan is optimistic this time. He's quietly optimistic. He knows that a lot is on the line, and he's letting Greco, because inside he knows that he is very, very confident. He's worked extremely hard. He's worked 150%. He said that he's 150%. He's prepared for this, worked extremely hard in this training camp, and he's physically feeling the best he's ever been since the mid-2000s when he dominated this division. So this time I do feel that Amir Khan going into this fight, this is a different Amir Khan. This isn't the Amir Khan of old who would lose his patience very quickly, but somebody who shows a lot of maturity, and a lot of credit has to be given to his management team, his new trainer. His new trainer, what he's done is that he's given Amir Khan...
Gasson?
Yes. He's given him this more patient approach. He said, look, you know, you have to conserve your energy inside the ring and make sure that your defense is strong, but at the same time, use your greatest attributes, use your speed, move your feet movement, you know, move side to side, you know, make your opponent work. This is what you were you did extremely well throughout when you were dominating, when you had the two world weights, the world belts. So that's important that he brings that he brings about that experience, but at the same time brings that speed which helped him get all that fame.
A big fight like this, you have to be mentally prepared, and you've got to leave all the tripe aside, right? And Amir Khan, we know, has been through a lot. We've discussed this, and you mentioned that he threw water on Greco at one point. Greco called him Kardashian or something like that, and of course, things haven't gone well. We all know what went on, but again, like most great athletes, like most great competitors, they have the ability to bounce back from difficult situations and return triumphant. And this is Amir Khan's moment, I believe, and I think he knows that. I mean, you saw that steely determination in his eyes in that press conference. I think that's very, very important.
I think it's very important. It just shows how much this means to him. Not only how much it means to him, it means to his family. It means to his fans around the world. You think about he's representing two nations, Great Britain and Pakistan too. He's probably Pakistan's greatest ever product in the sport of boxing. So I'm sure he's going to have a lot of people supporting him around. But at the same time, Amir Khan knows that he is very, very confident going into this fight.
Because, turning off the noise is never easy.
It's not.
He probably has to hear it everywhere he goes, right? And of course, he may be a great athlete and he's still a human being, right? It gets to you. I just feel like, because having watching him at that press conference, I just feel like, he's made a conscious effort to put everything aside and just have this tunnel vision, focus on what's to come. Saturday is a big moment for him, because if he does well, if he manages to win, I think we're going to see a whole new chapter of this wonderful, colorful Amir Khan story.
I'm very excited about this fight, and I think every other Pakistani and British citizen is very excited. All his fans are very excited, because it's very important for him to win this fight. If he wins, then he's back in the big frame. He's back among against the champions over there. If he wins this fight, which I'm confident he will, then I feel then he has the likes. He could go up against Kell Brook. Kell Brook is another person. He is one of the world. He has one of the world titles, and Amir Khan is hungry for those world titles. Let's not forget he owned two of them previously in the decade. Other than that, he could fight against Crawford, who is another person who really wants to fight Amir Khan. So you could see that there are more challenges await him. But for Amir Khan, it's important to get over this hurdle. Make sure that he gets through this hurdle and with relative ease. Because if he puts on a dominant performance against him, then it'll show that yes, we have the old Amir Khan back, and then this Amir Khan can go on forward, and he can go on to greater strengths and go up for greater challenges.
What's the Canadian strategy going to be? I think we all know, like, we've seen Amir Khan at times falling down quite quickly, so I'm sure Greco is well aware of that. Do you think he's going to try and knock him out early on in the piece, or is he going to look to take him 12 rounds?
I think what he's going to do is he's going to try to knock him out. The reason being is because Amir Khan in his last few fights, when he did lose, he was knocked out. Amir Khan lost when he lost in 2012, and more recently when he lost to Saul Canelo Alvarez in the 7th round. He was knocked out comprehensively. So Greco going into this fight is the sort of person, he's the underdog, and he knows that he's got nothing to lose. So what he needs to do is that he just needs to knock Amir Khan out. And we know that Amir Khan has a dodgy chin. He has a chin which that if you can get through his defense and if you hit him hard on the chin, then it could shake Amir Khan up. And in more recent years, we've seen that Amir Khan, his defense has been a bit vulnerable. So
well, I'm sure that's what he's worked on a great deal. I'm sure. I mean, he's well aware of that. And that's something that he's worked very hard on. I mean, and let's see how he goes. I mean, I think we'll get an idea early on in the piece, the first 3 rounds perhaps.
First 3, what's very important going into this fight, if you look at the strategy, Amir Khan must not go for the kill. Yes, he must be dominant, but at the same time be very cautious, because Greco is going to go for the kill. He's going to make sure that, yes, he takes some of the punches, but he also gets through Amir Khan's defense. So Amir Khan will need to be cautious over it. Yes, he'll have to use his speed, but not if it does go the distance, conserve energy. Make sure that he makes this Greco work hard. Yes, it will be his main prime focus will be to get Greco done and dusted. But if it doesn't go, if it goes beyond 4-5 rounds, then he needs to be cautious. He needs to conserve energy, and he needs to make sure that he tires Greco out. And if he doesn't knock him out, then comprehensively beat him after 12 rounds.
Many are speculating that if Amir Khan doesn't come out on top, if he loses, that he's going to call it a day. Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't think he's going to call it a day, because he's already signed a contract with Eddie Hearn for 4 fights. But one thing is for sure is that his value will decrease and
No, as in after these fights, you think?
I think yes, this could be pretty much the end of him. I think he's going to look to new. He's going to go towards new pastures. I don't think that I think he'll be done and dusted with boxing. I think that this itself is an olive branch for Amir Khan. I thought after Saul Canelo Alvarez, majority of his fans thought that this was the end of Amir Khan, but you have to give him a lot of credit after what he's been through over the past 2 years to get a new promoter, get a new contract of 4 fights, and now and also it shows him how hungry he is and how much people love him. How many of his fans wanted him, are desperate to see him back. If you look back to the years when he was at his peaks, from the late 2000s till the early 2010s, I mean, he was the king of this division. He earned in this division he had 2 world belts. So it just shows that if Amir Khan can get back to his best, then he's a force to be reckoned with.
No, I think his never say die attitude has kept moving him forward, right? I mean, I don't know, this is a bit of a cliche, but I'm sure you've seen all the Rockies, right?
Yeah.
In Rocky 6, Rocky said, you're going to take all the knocks in the world and nothing hits harder than life. And yes, as you just mentioned, Amir Khan has had some trouble. I can't believe I'm quoting Rocky 6 here. It's such a cliche. Mm-hmm. But he says that, you just have to keep moving forward. And if you're hungry enough and you work hard enough, more often than not, you will come out on top. And I just mentioned before that I don't think enough people realize that for Amir Khan 2 years ago to move up a weight class, that took a lot of guts. That wasn't an easy thing to do, and I'm sure he was well aware of the risks, and yes, it came back to bite him. But you've got to admire Amir Khan for his sort of daring-do approach towards boxing.
You have to admire him for his tenacity. No ordinary person or any ordinary boxer would actually take that risk. It was a risk which could have proved fatal, because if you go a weight higher than your current weight, and if you got a really bad knockout blow, that could pretty much end your career. It could have severe implications. In fact, I remember after that, during that fight, when she was going into that fight, his wife herself, Faryal Makhtoom, mentioned how she was worried for his health and for his well-being, because he was up against a champion in the form of Saul Canelo Alvarez, and whilst he did well, it was a very dangerous fight for him. So kudos for him to come out of that fight. Yes, he was bruised, he was battered after that, but after 2 years, after working extremely hard, after what he's been through, to come out and come back into his welterweight division where he's more comfortable for, and a new chapter for him in his career.
I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that, Ali, even if it doesn't go well for Amir tomorrow, we have to realize what he's brought to boxing. I mean, in many ways, he put boxing back on the map, especially in Pakistan. So I think it's important that we remember what he's already achieved. He's achieved a lot. So yes, if it doesn't work out for him, fine, not the best way to end things, but we mustn't forget all the good things he's done before that.
Look, Amir Khan will, if things don't work out well for him, one must remember about his legacy. Amir Khan has left a great legacy over here. I mean, since the great Prince Nazim Hamid, who dominated this division in the late 90s and early 2000s, we haven't seen anybody with that same tenacity, that same speed, that same, you could say, that same sort of flamboyance as much as Amir Khan. Amir Khan just stole the show with his boxing, with his skill set, with his punching power, with his speed, and he's done that over the past 10, 15 years, since he won that 14 years, since he won that silver medal at the Athens Olympics, and since he went professional. Since then, it's been an up and down journey for him, but Amir Khan is the sort of person, he's had some great fights against, I'll never forget that fight against Maidana, when everybody counted him out, and he just destroyed Maidana. He took so many punches, and then at the end, he actually beat him comprehensively at the end when he got his world title, and then when he beat Zab Judah too, and then Patterson. So Amir Khan has the pedigree. He's done it in the past. He just has to make sure that whatever all those that same approach, he brings about that same approach. He's more experienced out, he's more mature, but he just gets it done and dusted in the early rounds, but make sure that he does not waste any sort of energy.
Okay, Ali, in your opinion, how do you think the match is going to go? I mean, if Amir Khan wins, will he knock Greco out, or will he take him to the 12th round? If Greco gets the better of him, do you think he's going to knock him out, or will he take him all the way?
I think Amir Khan will get him, will settle the score well. He will get him done and dusted in 6 rounds. I think Amir Khan is going to go for speed. He's going to go back to his famous skill set, and that is.
But the favorite, you'd say, I mean, just purely based on what they've been through, boxing and everything. Right now, the favorite is Greco.
No, I'd say Amir Khan is the favorite. I would say, comprehensively say that Amir Khan is the favorite. Why? Because Amir Khan is he's a former world champion. And a world champion, and the sort of world champion who dominated the division. Yes, Amir Khan has had his fair share of troubles, but let's not forget that when he was at his peak, he was unstoppable. He just needs to make sure that he's mentally ready for this. He has his head is clear. He uses his famous skill set. He uses his speed, and then go for the kill. Go for the kill. But if it doesn't work out in the 4-5 rounds, take Greco to 12 rounds and beat him over the course of the 12 rounds. Because after the problem with Amir Khan is after 5-6 rounds he tires, and when he tires, then his opponent can take the advantage. We saw that against Alvarez. So it's important that if Amir Khan doesn't settle the score within 6 rounds, he takes him to 12 rounds and he beats him comprehensively on the judges' scorecard.
Certainly not going to be easy for Amir Khan, but what we do know is that class is permanent. He's been there before, he's won before, and he can do it again on Saturday night. We're going to leave it at that. Ali, Mehdi, thank you for coming on the show. It was a pleasure. We'll be back after a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about bodybuilding. Stay tuned.